Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ask Kate from California. So many of you will know Kate because if you've worked for us for a long time, you've probably either read her book or you've heard us talk about her, or you've watched one of our previous shows. So just quickly, Kate, for anyone who doesn't know you, just give us a quick 2-minute spiel on who you are.
Well, I'm Kate Deering, and I wrote the book, How to Heal Your Metabolism. I'm going to make you laugh. And I'm a trainer and nutritional coach in California. And I've been studying the philosophies of Ray Peat for about 6+ years and utilizing them with my clients all over the world.
Awesome. So guys, we've decided we're going to keep this to 20 minutes because apparently the TED Talks worked out that people can only focus for 18 minutes. So we'll keep it nice and short and sweet. And today's episode is about stress. So a few of the clients in our Facebook group asked me to talk to you about stress, how it affects the body, how it affects your metabolism, how it affects, healing the body. And I think, when a lot of clients come to us, they'll come in and you've got to look at it as a holistic approach. So they'll change their food, they'll dial back their training, start lifting weights, get more sun, but they may have a very stressful relationship or a very stressful job. And it really, I guess, inhibits or slows down that process. So, maybe initially, could you just tell people what is stress and the types of stress and what responses that elicit from the body?
Well, stress is anything basically over what the body can't take on. So, if a normal level of activity is what your body is used to and can take, then, that's not necessarily a stress. Mm-hmm. But a stressor comes on in the amount of anything over what the body can't normally take on. And that comes in any sort of form. Come from exercise, a job, relationships, not sleeping enough, stressful diet, anything that causes disruptions in the body. And that stress can create adaptations in your system that basically help you survive, even though they might be bad. But, you have to always remember that your body is going to adapt to the stressors you put upon it. And it can be a good thing like weight training, and it's going to adapt by creating more muscle. Or it can be something like if you eat a really toxic diet, it's going to create adaptations that are going to be like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, all of these things that happen because of those stressors. And they're trying to help and keep your body alive, but long-term can create dysfunction, disease, illness, so forth.
Yeah. So, when we work with a lot of women, and so I find that they'll come to us and they'll have kids, so the kids will stress them out, and they'll have a full-time job, and then they will have to look after the household, and then they decide that they need to lose weight. So they're look in the mirror and they're I fucking hate the body that I have, and they go out and they do not only do they have all this stress already, then they go and do the Jenny Craig or the F45 or the Michelle Bridges or some other low calorie, high output program. So can you describe to everyone what actually happens to your body when you do that?
You'll lose weight. So, stress can help you lose weight. And that's why all these programs work, because it can work pretty effectively, pretty quickly. And, anytime you stress your system, if you stop eating, that's super stressful to your body. But I assure you, you're going to lose weight. If you exorbitant amount of exercise and eat super low calorie, you're going to lose weight. Now, the problem is that is not something you can keep going. Your body is going to create adaptations to that. And one of the adaptations is it slows your metabolism down. Yeah. So that is one of the things that your body does when you go into one of these stressful diets or stressful lifestyles or stressful exercise programs. But initially they work and they create that initial quick fat loss or whatever that you're looking for. But as we all know, if you've done those programs before, you eventually hit this wall or plateau where it doesn't matter what you do or how strict you are, nothing moves, nothing happens until finally you just can't take it and you go on the binge and you go off the program and you say, forget it. And then all the weight comes back on and you feel worse than ever, and you've created, but what happened in the meantime is you created that adaptation of a slower metabolism. So now you put the weight back on and now your metabolism is even slower than it was before. So now you put even more weight back on, and then and then that you go through this system and cycle again and again and again until, you're 50 and you weigh 50 pounds heavier than you did, had you not ever done one of these diets, you would have been better off.
Yep. And you talk about, so when you do these crazy diet programs, you don't eat enough and you've got all this other stress in your life, your metabolism will slow down. And we often talk about, with our clients, so there's a couple of ways you can measure your metabolism. So you've got the objective and the subjective measures. So can you just talk about them and, some of the effects that you'll see, when you do these diets, how it'll affect those things?
Well, I mean, you can measure your metabolism by yourself, essentially, just by measuring your temperature and pulse.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an easy measurement, and that's how they kind of used to measure things before they had thyroid tests or lab tests that would test your TSH and so forth. So easily measuring temperature and pulse will give you a baseline idea of what's going on with your body, because energy output is a result of basically metabolic rate. So when your body's metabolizing property, it gives off a lot of heat, it gives off carbon dioxide and water, essentially. So lots of heat being very wasteful is actually good, that means you have a good metabolism. So ideal temperature is around 98.6, so if you're
in Australian 37 degrees.
There you go. So sorry, 37. Celsius and the other parts of the country, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, and so anything lower than that could mean you have a lower metabolism. And so now it doesn't mean that if, now some people might have warmer temperatures, but actually are still hypothyroid too. Yeah. And that's usually because they're running on adrenaline and cortisol, and those, hormones can actually spike up your temperature too. So you have to kind of know what you're looking for.
And what about the pulse? You talked about the pulse.
Ideal pulse would be between 75 and 90 beats per minute. That's kind of what you're looking at.
At rest, right?
Right, at rest, right. Which everyone's like,
no. So explain that a little bit more for everyone. So, like I often get that question as well. They're like, oh, Kitty, my resting pulse is about 60, and I've been doing all this running. Doesn't that mean I'm really fit and healthy?
Yeah. Well, you're fit. And, low pulse is an adaptation of doing lots of cardiovascular exercise. So, so in the medical world, you would be like, yeah, that's really healthy. Low pulse is good. That means you're very fit. But just because you're fit and have good aerobic capacity doesn't mean that you have a high metabolism. It usually does mean the opposite. And because your body has created an adaptation, because you're going to go out on really long runs, it wants to be more efficient. It's better for you to be efficient and utilize less calories because you're exerting all this energy, and your body is always trying to preserve it. And survive. So if you are going to put these big long stressors of 3 or 4 hours, you will create an adaptation.
Yeah. So your body just becomes more efficient at working on less. It just slows everything down. And you mentioned before, and I don't think, a lot of people don't know about this, but so when your cells produce energy efficiently, a byproduct is heat, but the other one you talked about was carbon dioxide. And can you just talk a little bit more about that and why it's so beneficial?
Well, carbon dioxide acts as a natural antioxidant in your system. But, and I know Danny Roddy has talked about this, if you go back to the Bohr effect, carbon dioxide is needed to help oxygen to get into the cell. So you have a low level of carbon dioxide, it's harder for oxygen to get into the cell to create that aerobic respiration. So you need it for optimal respiration of the cell or metabolism. So it is an integrated part that a lot of people kind of don't pay attention to, especially someone that's on a ketogenic diet or, that's utilizing fat as energy, because they don't produce nearly as much carbon dioxide as if you're using carbohydrates as energy over fat. And you don't ever, if you look at any ketogenic diet or anyone that's talking about it, nobody ever talks about carbon dioxide. Because if they did, they would realize that their program doesn't really, because it doesn't produce nearly the amount as if you utilize glucose or sugars as energy.
Yeah. And so we've sort of talked about what we would call the objective measures, and then we've got the subjective measures. So, we also get our clients to track sleep, digestion, energy, menstrual cycle, skin quality, moods. So talk a bit more about how, like when you go on these low calorie diets and you're really stressed, how do they affect those things, and what can you look for in those things?
Well, I mean, like I have so many clients that have gone through this. You know, your digestion sucks, so you're
Yeah.
constipated normally. Your skin can be dry, your hair can be brittle,
And can
your
we just,
sex.
sorry, go back to the constipation, the digestive one. So when your stress hormones are high and then thyroid function like lowers, what happens? How does that affect digestion? Like what actually happens?
Well, I mean, when your metabolism is slower, the mobilization of your gut decreases. Now, I
Mhm.
mean, you can have actually increased bowel movement with a lot of stress. So then you
Mhm.
might have diarrhea.
Yeah.
So, you know, that can happen as well. But usually with a low metabolic rate, what you're going to see is slower mobilization within to the colon. And
Mm.
so things move a lot slower and things aren't going through. So those are the people that are trying to take something, you know, herbs or whatever else to increase function of the gut to get things out. You know, I remember when a good friend of mine, she was dying of cancer, but you know, when those last stages, the metabolism is horribly, and she wouldn't have a bowel movement for 10 days.
Yeah.
The mobilization was so slow, but you know, cancer in itself was a stress metabolism, so it's eating her system.
Yeah.
But you know, when you get into those states, and you know, having a bowel movement daily is healthy for you. You need to get the bacteria and everything out of the system, and that's what you
Mm.
want. So you know, when you're not having it, those things have a tendency to build up and cause, you know, even more issues.
Mm. It's interesting. Like I've got so many clients who like, they call me the poo whisperer because
Right.
they're like,
Very
oh my
important.
God. They're like, oh my God, I'm like shitting every day now. It's so amazing. And like, it really, you feel like you sort of cleansed, I reckon, after you, do you know what I mean? Like if, it's just so funny. Okay. So the digestion, that's one thing. And I noticed that immediately with clients. They're like, oh my God, I'm shitting every day. What about moods?
Yeah, so your
Yeah.
mood can totally suck. I mean,
Yeah.
you can be depressed. I mean, yeah, I mean, all of
Angry.
these.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
you can be angry and edgy, you
Yeah.
know, you're very short tempered, and you know, because your body's not getting enough energy. I mean,
Yeah.
anyone that's gone on a diet, right,
Yeah.
and decrease their calories, they are horrible to be around on like day 4 or 5, right? I
Oh
mean, they're
yeah.
just moody and angry because their
Yeah.
body's not getting enough energy.
Yeah.
You know, they're unhappy, and it's just, you know, you're like, okay, this cannot be good for you
Yeah.
because your mood sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean, if you think of your body, everything that's going on, hormonal system, your brain, all of that requires energy. And your best sources of energy is always sugar,
mm,
glucose,
mm,
right?
mm.
That's what your bodies prefer. It absolutely prefers. And it has mechanisms, if it doesn't get sugar, that either A, it's going to slow your metabolism down, or it's going to do gluconeogenesis and break down tissue or proteins in your body to produce the
Yeah.
sugars it needs. There's no other mechanism in your body that if you don't get another fat, there's a protective thing that goes on, you
Yeah.
know, to say you need more fat, because you don't. You know,
Yeah.
there's no other system that does that. So sugar has to be pretty important if your body has all these survival techniques to preserve its system, you
Mm.
know, when there's lack of it.
And you started touching this before, sex drive. So why is it that always all these women, you know, they're like, oh fuck, I got no sex drive. Like husband's always hitting me up to have sex with me, or their wife, you know. And what happens? Why does it? How does it affect your sex drive?
Well, thyroid is needed for the conversion of cholesterol into your steroidal hormones. So
Mhm.
that's pretty important. So if you have
Mm.
low thyroid function, or you have poor liver function where, you know, T4 is converted into T3, you're going to have shitty hormonal function, and it's all
Mm.
going to be suppressed, you know, and
Mm.
that's why so many women can't have a baby, you know. So there's infertility, there's horrible PMS, there's no sex drive to want to have sex. I mean,
Mm.
so all of those things start happening when hormone function goes into the crapper, you
Yeah.
know, which again is all driven from a higher metabolism.
And what about sleep? Like we really see a lot of clients, you know, their sleep will improve really quickly, you know, once we increase their calories, get enough protein in, get enough sugars. How does the low calories and the stress affect your sleep? Why does it wake you up?
Well, not eating enough through the day, then
Mm.
basically your body's not storing. So your liver's not having, you know, there's nothing stored. Especially if you're in a low carb diet, there's no stored glucose in the liver.
Mm.
So your body's blood sugar is regulated by stored glucose in the liver at night. And if there's nothing in there, then your
Mm.
blood sugar is going to drop, which again, you constantly need a circulation of blood sugar. And so your body's going to release stress hormones, usually in the middle of the night, so that it breaks down tissue to
Mm.
continue to regulate yourself. And that's going to wake you up.
Yeah.
So if you have spikes of adrenaline and cortisol in the middle of the night, we call it the 2 or 3 a.m. spikes, they're going to wake you up. So it's a good idea at those points, you can drink some sugary, salty drink to help you get back to bed. But the best thing to do is to regulate your food through the day while you're awake. And that's going to help you the most while you're sleeping.
Yeah, it's just so interesting. Like, obviously we get some women come in who had exposure to this, like rape eat and this way of eating, and they've read your book. And then we've got women who are totally new. And, our process is we'll get them to set their calories and the macronutrients initially, and then we test and measure from there. And we get them to look at the objective and subjective measures of metabolism. And, so many times I'm like, well, they're like, oh, Kitty, I'm waking up during the night. I'm moody, like I'm really starting to feel like I want to binge eat. I'm like, you need more calories. I'm like, just up them. I said, like if you don't, you'll continue on like this and you'll binge eat. And that's how women get fat, is that they restrict and then they binge, and then they restrict and then they binge, and they go on this massive cycle. So it's like, you've just got to eat enough so that you feel good, sleep well, your energy's good, you're not going to binge eat. It's just so funny how the fitness industry is just so drilled it into people, like that you need to eat. Like, it's so, like, I've changed so much too. And now, like, anything under 2,000, I'm just like, it just seems low to me, because all of our clients come in and we easily get them up over 2,000. Like, some of our clients now, the ones who are, quite strong, are eating as much as me, and they're smaller than I am. They're eating like 3,000 calories a day and experimenting, and we're changing different things. And,
That's awesome.
Yeah. One girl, she's in the States actually, Katie, and when she first joined, she was probably eating about 2,000. She had digestive issues, and, we got her off the pill, and now she's consistently eating 3,000, sleeps right through the night. Like, she just couldn't sleep through the night. So we just kept upping them. And she's put no weight on, no weight at all. And she's only training 2 days a week. Another lady, that we work with in South Africa, she got some pretty bad, like came in with really fucked metabolism. Like, she was waking up 6 times a night, no energy. So she was eating 1,800 when she came in. She's now eating 3,000 calories, and she's not been able to do any training because of an injury. She's still lost 13.5 centimeters off her body of the places we got her to measure.
You know what? I honestly think sometimes it's a gift if those people cannot work out.
Yeah.
Because I had a client years ago that I worked with, and she broke her ankle right when we started. But she was one of those that I had to be in the gym every day. She broke her ankle, and I'm like, great. I think we'll have a chance now to make this stuff work, because now you're not going to be all obsessed and crazy. And she started losing weight. We started increasing her calories. She was eating like 2,500 calories, twice as much as she was before, and she was losing weight. And she continued on that route, and it was like, she's a kid, I'm not working out. I'm like, I know. I'm like, isn't that amazing?
I know, it's incredible. Hey, like they're like,
but you see what you're doing
when
you're already in a stress state. Yeah. When you're in that stress state, and then you add all this exercise on top of it, you're just creating more efficiency and more of a stress state. And and if you start eating a lot and staying in that stress state, you can gain weight, but take everything away that's creating more stress, and exercise. And when you're past your limit, exercise is going to compound, and it's too much.
Yeah.
So,
and it's interesting you say that too. And I know we spoke about this before we started the show, but we've had clients too where they've come, because we're big advocates of strength training, and we I love strength training too, just for I just enjoy it as well. I enjoy being strong, and I enjoy the challenge. But I always know when I've pushed it too hard, like that CNS, like you feel fried. Like if we've done a really heavy program, my sleep will start to get affected, and I'll feel moody. Right. And I know, like, so I'll just take a deload week, and I won't train. And before I'd be like, oh, I have to train. Whereas now I know I'm going to come back better, and I'm going to come back stronger if I just give my body that rest. And we've actually had some clients come in where we said, we want you to do no training. If you really have to go to the gym, we'll give you a really light program where you just go on through the movements, because some of them are like, I just can't not train. Just want you to get sun, de-stress, eat the food. And they've lost more weight. Like I remember Bo's wife, Anika, she's been with us now for 18 months. She got into a car accident, not a bad one, but she got some pretty bad whiplash, and she had to have a month off training. She dropped the most body fat she has in the whole time when she didn't train at all. She kept her calories the same.
Yeah.
So I'm like...
It's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. And that's why in the fitness industry, you are not going to find many trainers that are going to, if someone comes to them and you do a profile on them and you're like, yeah, you don't need my services, right? That doesn't happen.
No.
I mean, so a trainer is going to be like, no, we're going to, let's get you on that low calorie diet. We can, get working out 6 days a week. And guess what? That person isn't probably going to, or they might adjust, but it's not going to be sustainable. I mean, and again, it's all dependent on where they are on their stress bucket. If they have no other stress going on in their life, you can put that kind of program in something and they might get quick results. But if they're already coming to you with a crap load of stress with their life and their work and their home and whatever else, that approach is just going to keep them in that stress state, and they're going to be working really hard and getting nowhere.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because we work with so many clients now, and, we're always constantly testing and measuring things, not only with ourselves, but with clients. And I find too, like now with these ladies who are on our advanced program, like we push some pretty heavy weights, and towards the end, before we have a deload week, like one was like saying, oh yeah, my sleep, I'm just having a really restless sleep this week. And now that they're on deload, they're sleeping again. So their body obviously needed that break, and we've experimented too with giving more, like having more calories on your training days, because obviously you're depleting those glycogen stores during the day. So you need more to sleep at night. So just experimenting with eating more on training days, or sometimes, I'll feel more hungry the day after, which is interesting. Like I still sleep fine, but, I think we try to really teach them to test and measure. But I think once you do that, you work out, okay, well, like I've done 4 blocks, 4 weeks. We always do 4 weeks of training. Then we have a complete deload. So give them a rest for 7 days, and then we start again. Even if they're like, oh, we don't feel like we need it. I'm like, you need it. You just don't realize your body needs that break. And I think, back to what you said about other coaches in the industry, I feel like they're so afraid that if they don't get their clients immediate results, that they'll leave them. So I think that, like low calorie, they need to see some scale weight. Whereas often, like I just had a lady post in the other page today, she's like, oh, my weight's going up, Kitty. And, I was like, well, I said, you need to keep going. I said, because you need to find a spot where you can sleep well and have good energy and then heal yourself, because if we cut your calories, you're just going to go back to, it's like this vicious cycle. So sometimes you have to cop the weight gain. I mean, and what I find usually is with women, if they follow our process, they don't gain weight. And if they do what we say, but, and it's like, look at the other measures, look at the subjective, the objective, look at your measurements too. So measurements are going down. I'm like, who gives a fuck about the weight? Like the measurements going down. It means your body fat's going down. So, I think too many trainers, it's like, they just use strategies, quick fix strategies to see instant results. And it's like, we really try and set them up with a solid foundation, like a long-term strategy. And sometimes it means that you're not going to get those immediate, it's like they just want that immediate gratification. But I guess it's the whole fitness industry, right? Like,
that's our society. I mean, our whole society is built on immediate gratification. So, and when you're constantly being plugged on every different avenue by advertisements or all of these other people saying quick grab all of these things, that bombards people, and that's what they think that should happen. So even though you can talk to them on a physiological level and tell them this is the right approach and it makes perfect sense to them, a lot of people are still going to get frustrated and whatnot, because they're still being bombarded the other 23 hours of the day with all this other media and information that says it should be much quicker and faster and whatever else. So this approach is the only thing that makes sense. And I've told this people over and over, and that's why I go back to it over and over again, because it's the only approach that makes sense physiologically.
I totally agree. Yeah, I know. It's just like you sort of think, I say to these women, I'm like, how many times do you want to do the same thing and expect a different result? Because it never works ever. I've never had anyone come to me and say, I've done this 1200 calorie diet and I've been able to maintain it and I feel amazing and I look great. And it's like, you just got to suck it up and go, like, instead of looking at it as a goal, it's like set yourself standards and lifestyle standards and be like, this is how I live my life now. And eventually the body will catch up and it'll follow if you be consistent, and you'll probably, like look the way you want to look. And the other thing too is I find so many women come into our program and they're like, yeah, okay, I've got to try something different, but they still have that idea that I want to have abs and I want to be really lean. And then they come in and they're like, oh fuck, I'm feeling so much better now. And I realize that I don't really need that anymore. I just want to be healthy and I want to be at a healthy body fat and I want to be strong. So I reckon it really changes your outlook to, like I feel the happiest. I'm the fattest. Not that I'm fat, but like I'm the highest body fat I've ever been, but I'm the happiest. Like, I love my body. Like, I'd just get my gear off and strut around naked all the time. You know, I love that I've got a bit of fat on my ass, and, you know, like, I don't
This
have.
is the TMI part of the conversation.
Yeah. Totally. But you know what? Don't you reckon, like, you first become more accepting and loving of your body? Like, we really try to teach women that as well, that no matter where you're at, like, love your body because it's got you this far. Like, start respecting it and loving it and appreciating it for what it's done for you, you know, because if you're always striving to get to this ideal, you're never going to be happy. Like,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, this approach will not only change you physically, but it absolutely changes you mentally and how you approach things and life and how you see things. And probably it's going to make you change. And as I work with people and we unravel certain parts, you'll find that, you know, they see they have to change other aspects of their lives. So, I mean, that comes, I'm like, look, you know, we're going to get so far, but you really got to look at how you're working and how you're living your life. Yeah. And, you know, and people that really want to shift, they take they make those big, hard decisions and, you know, and then they're tough, but oh my God, you know, it saves their life. And then, and new and a better thing or another door opens that's going to be better for them. You know, we don't know until you change. And so many of us choose to make decisions based on fear, you know, about what could happen, you know, and this and that. I'm like, you know what? The only decisions you need to make are the ones you know that are going to be the healthiest for you. Don't worry about what could happen because I assure you, if you continue to do what you're doing, bad shit's going to happen. You know, don't let fear take you to that place. You know, go with, you know, I know what's best for me. I know I need to do this. I'm just going to do it. And I'm going to know I made the right decision and not worry about anything else right now, because if you follow it and you continue on that right path, the right things are going to happen for you. Might not be what you thought or expected, but the right thing will happen.
Yeah, totally. Oh no, I can't believe how much it's changed my life. And every day, you know, I talk to women and how much it's changed. I mean, it's changed yours, it's changed Emma's, it's Dodie's, it's like all these Danny's. Yeah, it's just, it's incredible.
Yeah. Highly, I mean, Zachariah and Josh, and all of those, and Jeannie, I mean, they have made a big change in this world with, you know, their philosophies around this, you know, around this philosophy. You know, everyone's a little bit different, but I mean, you know, this is some of the smartest people I've ever met. So you gotta be doing something right.
And I think you're right. I think like we've all taken, like, you know, we're very much about strength training and like we have our own, like we've taken and adopted it to our way. And there's certain people that are going to, like, you know, even though we both practice the similar things, as, you know, I would always like refer special like people who've got deeper issues, like not we're doing deeper issues like that need more specific attention. Like I'll sometimes refer them to you. I'll say, you know, go to speak to Kate or Emma. Like, you know, come and work with us if you're this type of person. So I think we all have a different, you know, like slightly different spin on it. And, you know, I'm not a nutritionist. You know, we have a very specific methodology and, you know, we can help a certain type of person and, you know, so can you. And I think, you know, different people are going to suit different styles.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But, you know, we love your book and we think it's awesome. So, if you haven't read Kate's book, How to Heal Your Metabolism, it's really, it's easy to understand. Like I'm just a big set of hooters and I find it so much easier to, like Ray's work is good, but it's really complex. Like I find it very hard to grasp. Like Bo's awesome. He'll just read it all and be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. But your book's great. It's simple. It's easy. And it's, you know, like
it's very layman's terms. And that was the whole, I talked to someone today. I'm like, look, it's not maybe for an 8th grader, maybe a 9th grader, but I mean, you got to understand it. Ray is amazing. But he is a very complex human being and that's how he lives, you know, and his information.
So
yeah. And so for me, I was like, this information is so important, you know, people got to understand it and read it. So let's make it a little bit easier for them.
So get Kate's book. It's really good. If you're in Australia, you can order it from us. Like we just buy them in bulk from her and sell them because you can't actually order them in Australia. Hey, like you have to order off Amazon. Is that right? Yeah.
You can get it Kindle in Australia, but if you want the book, you got to go to Kitty.
Yeah. Come to me and order the book. We've got them. Just message me. But I think we've gone over our 18 minutes, not by too much.
We're practicing. This is our practice.
This is our first test run. Thank you so much, Kate. And
pleasure as always.
We'll see you next time. So we're going to try and do these a bit more regularly, like once a month, and we'll cover different topics. So
questions or info. So if there are things that you want to talk about, then email Kitty or you can email me and we can talk about them on our little 20-minute, maybe 30-minute little show here.
And look, if you're sitting there and you're really stuck, like reach out to us, like invest in yourself. So like reach out to Kate, go to her website, like contact her, work with her. If you want to learn how to strength train and, like change your body composition and feel better, come and work with us. Like we have a flagship program that is so affordable for all women. So the thing is, it's like invest in yourself. You're not going to regret it. It'll really change your life. So thank you so much, Kate, and I will see you next time. Okay, cool.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, Kitty.
Bye.
Bye.